My name's Becky Willson. I'm the Technical Manager at the Farm Carbon Toolkit. And after a fantastic 2 days, it's a really fitting end to the show to be able to award our soil farmers for 2021. At Farm Carbon Toolkit, we're really passionate about connecting farmers together to share information and inspire others around reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving soil health, and those links to business resilience. And so our Soil Farmer of the Year competition that we've been running for the last 6 years has really allowed us an opportunity to have fantastic discussions with a range of brilliant farmers who are all doing amazing things around sustaining their most precious resource in terms of their soil. Now, we're already running a little bit late, so I'm going to waffle on for a minimal amount of time. But just to explain a little bit about the competition, we're incredibly lucky that we've had support from the start of the competition from Cotswold Seeds and Farm Ed, who have been providing the prizes for our top 3 farmers. We were also very lucky this year that we've had Hutchinson's that have provided some of that sponsorship to allow us to make the most of the competition and really be able to put on a load of really good events. The aim of the competition is really to try and promote and champion those farmers who are doing brilliant things around sustainable soils management. And what that allows us to do, and the creation of that network, is to really allow us to put a platform together for those farmers who are making a difference and who are doing brilliant things. And you'll see some of the examples of some of our previous winners and our alumni who are on that slide that's up there. This year, we've been a little bit different in the way that we've done things. Last year, obviously, with Groundswell not going ahead, and obviously with all the pandemic, we had to take Soil Farmer online, which was a new challenge for us, and it meant that some of our fantastic finalists last year had to take us on a video tour of their farm, and then we had to run our events virtually. And we had some great experiences with, having Alec Brewster broadcasting from the top of a hill in Scotland and being able to take that advice and that amazing stuff that he was doing to a wide range of an audience. But it's great to be back here in person and a really good opportunity once again to reward those amazing farmers. And we were overwhelmed this year with the number of applications that we received. We had over 17 applications that came through that first stage, which were then shortlisted down to our 7 finalists. What's really important, I think, about this competition is that connection and that sharing of ideas. And so our top 3 finalists, our top 3 who we'll announce in a minute, will all be hosting farm walks over the next few weeks. So if any of you are interested in hearing a little bit more about the stuff that they're doing, please come along to those. They're going to give you a bit of a flavour this afternoon about some of their farm management, and there'll be an opportunity to ask some questions and dig deeper into their management. But the time has arrived. So at this point, I will announce from our top 7 who are our four finalists, and then we'll announce those top 3. So, as I say, we had a fantastic amount of entries this year from a load of farmers who were doing really good things, so it was incredibly difficult to provide that shortlist. All of the shortlisted farmers were then visited, and then we were able to then award the top 3. So, our 4 finalists, who are out of those 7, are Rob Raven, Mark Aldroyd, Kasha Bowen-Jones, and Jack Martin. And at that point, I'm just going to stop and let Ed from Hutchinson's and Ian from Cotswold Seeds and Farm ED just explain a little bit about their involvement in the competition, and then we'll announce the results and allow our top 3 to explain a bit more about their farm.
Okay, thank you, Becky. Yeah, obviously we're behind time and no one's here to listen to me, so I'll just say very quickly on behalf of Hutchinson's, it was a real pleasure to be involved in the competition this year, and personally it was a real privilege to be able to be part of the judging process and go and visit all of the finalist farms. It was really eye-opening, really inspiring. Everybody's doing some fantastic stuff in their own individual way, so it was great to be part of. Well done to all the finalists, and particularly the top 3. You're all doing really good stuff, so that's all I'll say.
Thanks very much. I echo that. I think the thing that strikes me more than anything is that it's a little bit like the sort of British cycling team or something when you're looking at how this competition's gone over the years, these small incremental gains that people are making now making a huge difference. So many farmers, I mean, this event is a good example of it, but so many farmers see soil as their main capital, and it's really important that remains the case, because it is the starting point. And I think the thing that struck me most above everything else was the long-term vision that a lot of these applicants have. So rather than thinking about, 2-year FBT or something on a short-term basis for your soil, it was thinking generationally about the soil, how it's managed, and how it's going to be the most important thing on the farm, frankly, on the planet. So I think that was the takeaway for me, was the long-term thinking. So on that note, I'll stop.
Brilliant. Right, so I think we will obviously give our certificates out to our finalists before we announce the top 3. So I'll just grab my bag of certificates. And then if we could have Rob Raven, Mark Oldroyd and Jack Martin to receive their certificates, if they were around. That's brilliant. As I say, it was a really tough decision, as Ed says, when we went round all of our farms that we judged. But the finals results are now in, and obviously it's time to get over the suspense that has been building. This year, we found it really, really difficult to award somebody as a first and a second. They were running very, very different systems. And as we did last year, we decided that actually, as much as we all argued it out among the judging panel, it was very, very difficult. So this year, we've gone for a livestock soil farmer of the year and an arable soil farmer of the year. And I'm really, really delighted to announce that this year's arable soil farmer of the year is Tom Sewell from Sewell Farms. This year's Livestock Soil Farmer of the Year is Sam Vincent from Rickery Farms, and our runner-up is Anthony Pearce. So we're going to hear more about the exciting things that they're doing on their farm, but before we get into their presentations, I'd like them to come up and receive their awards. So Anthony. And then Sam. And Tom. Congratulations. Very good. So a massively impressive lineup of our soil farmers for 2021. Thank you ever so much. And if this has inspired any of you, as I say, we will have farm walks for our top 3, but also the competition opens again on World Soils Day, which is the 5th of December. So please do put your application in. Now, you'll be glad to know you're going to not hear much more of me at this point. Now we're going to turn to our farmers and give them a real opportunity to explain a little bit about what they're doing on farm. So, Tom.
Thank you. You guys going to sit down, or do you want to stand? I'll stand up. Right, I'll keep this fairly brief, because I'm aware probably most of you want to get off home fairly soon or down to the pub and get a drink. So I'm a second-generation farmer. Oh, you've got the text there. Here we go. Second-generation arable farmer and Nuffield scholar. My father started with nothing and has built up to what we've got today. It's a family partnership with myself, my wife and my parents. I've been married for 20 harvests and I have 4 children. These notes are to keep me going as well as to make you wonder what I'm talking about. We farm 1,500 acres for 15 separate landowners. So we're used to dealing with quite a few different people. And we only own 4.5% of the land we farm. So talking about looking after the land ongoing, we're looking after a lot of land that we don't own and we're not sure how long we've got it for. But we treat it as though we've got it forever, even though we might only have it for a couple of years. one of the things we're focused on is business growth and profitability. It's all right doing all this stuff, but it's actually got to make some money, particularly when you own such a little amount of what you're farming. We want to reduce our costs, improve the quality of our soils all the time, increase yields, just because that's what we want to do as farmers, isn't it? We don't want to grow less. We want to improve nature, but also improve the yields and the local quality of the community for the people, but also the nature quality we've got. So some of the little things we're doing: cover crops, compost, all the straw is chopped every year. We've got a fairly diverse rotation, and we're reducing our nitrogen input 10% year on year for the last 3 years. And it's not a flippant remark at the bottom, but we do want to have fun. We want to we enjoy what we're doing. Some people take life a bit too seriously, but we do want to have fun with what we're doing and use our farm to bless others and bless the community. A lot of people know us for the things we don't do, and I'll just flick through some of this. We don't cultivate. That's not particularly original here. We're at a no-till conference. We never work Sundays. We've never worked Sundays. We never will work Sundays. That includes during harvest. It means we do 6 days, and we're then fresh on Monday every week. And we managed to get the work done. Incidentally, so far this year, we took an extra 500 acres on last year. I haven't worked a weekend apart from one Saturday morning this year so far. I do all the spraying, all the fertilising myself. So it is possible. You can do it. We haven't used any bagged P&K for over 20 years on our farm. Indices are going up, if not down. All our brick soil test with NRM to back it up. Don't use any insecticides. We don't borrow any money, and we don't have an overdraft facility on the farm at all. And we don't bale any straw, and that's our family crest. Next. I think a conference like this, it's very easy to come to it and think, well, I need all the answers. Tell me what to do on my farm, and I'll go home and do it. Actually, you've got to make mistakes. That is an intentional spelling mistake there, by the way. But actually, you've got to try things on your farm. You've got to do things. You've got to make mistakes, learn from your mistakes, try again. I'm looking at people in the audience who do this, but actually, you're never going to get it right first time. You've got to learn from yourself. And one of the strap lines I gained on my Nuffield scholarship was this saying: everyone copies and no one thinks. And don't be a sheep. Don't just copy what everyone else is doing today. Take the snippets home that you want to learn and put them into practice on your own farm. One of my favourite quotes at the moment is: comparison is the thief of joy. Don't compare yourself to your neighbour. They're completely different. They've got completely different business, completely different soils. They might have similar weather. You don't know the background to their family, how much money they borrow. Don't compare yourself. And this bottom quote comes from my daughter's headmistress, who says, if you're not making mistakes, you're not trying hard enough. So try different things, make mistakes and learn from them. And the other thing is to encourage collaboration. This is a group of farmers locally known as the Nutters, and we share information. We buy and sell cover crop seed, or buy cover crop seed together, and rub different ideas off each other so that we're learning from one another. That can happen on social media, organisations like BASE, Direct Driller Magazine, forums, discussion groups, this event. And let's be willing to share knowledge, but also perhaps let's share machinery. It's so expensive now to buy all this machinery. Why don't we share it with each other? Why don't we share labour at key times? So that's a very quick run through of where I'm at, and I'll pass over to the next guy.
Hello. Yeah. Hi. I'm Sam Vincent. We farm in Dorset. We have around 100 dairy cows, mostly Friesians, some crossbreds. The milk sold to Arla Organic. We also keep all our calves, which are a combination of obviously Friesians and Angus and Devon Hereford crosses. We keep them on the farm until they're 20 months and sell them as store cattle. I've, over the last few years, altered my grazing practices from a sort of New Zealand-style rotational grazing system into a more controlled cell grazing or mob stock grazing practice. We try and plan the rotations, and we're increasingly keeping them longer and longer. I split a lot of the fields and paddocks into cells and accurately measure the grass before the cattle go in, and ensure that they've always got a fence in front and behind. The back fence is crucial. The mobile water is crucial, and that has allowed us, including going organic, reducing eliminate any fertilizer spinning, harrowing, rolling, or even topping. And we don't even own a topper anymore. We also use several software apps to help allocate the grass and keep an eye on where we're going for the seasons, because everything's changing and we need to adapt to those seasons all the time. That's just a small example of some of the sort of fairly inexpensive infrastructure that we've put in place. On the left is just how we connect the water troughs to a short piece of pipe. That has involved doing underground pipe work, and it gets the water where it needs to be. You can also see in the right picture is where we've not only used daily moves, but we've also split those daily moves into 12-hour moves. But rather than visiting the cattle twice a day, they're moved on a back latch. You can only just about work it out next to the reel, but that'll open on a set timer, and that increases the stocking density, and that encourages the cattle to eat a lot more vigorously, eat all plants that perhaps they wouldn't necessarily choose to eat, including flowers on buttercups or seed heads of long grass, rather than picking in the bottom and eating out all the nice pieces. There was a lot of things to try and put on a slide, so I've just put several examples on there. With the dairy, we've always been trying to extend the grazing season. We're a heavy clay farm, and we have laid over 4,000 concrete railway sleepers. We put them in roughly a decade ago now. We wouldn't be doing the grazing that we have been doing and are doing now without them. So the dairy cattle graze on average 270 days a year at pasture. We also outwinter our dairy beef, and that's normally around sort of 70, 80 a head, depending on how many cattle and how many cows we've had in the season. That's just on bells and pasture, and at the time, that's how I originally started using mobile water, because with outwinter cattle, you've got to be so careful of they're moving backwards and forwards, and it was just a way of limiting that damage, and the recovery, obviously, is a lot quicker. More recently, like a lot of people, we've been looking into dung beetles and the effect of insecticides. We're now at a place where we don't use any insecticides, which include wormers, fungicides, and of course fly sprays. And I believe this has also led to a lot more dung going back into the soil. There is a small picture there of some of the environmental work we now do, whether it's voluntarily for our own interests or on like a mid-tier stewardship, and the hedgerows are on a rotation now. Obviously, we do house the cattle. We can't outwinter. We don't outwinter everything else, including the dairy cattle and the young stock, first year R1s. There is a picture there of a pig doing some composting. That's an experiment we started several years ago and have gradually adapted and tried to perfect. It's just a way of composting the straw-based muck that we use to bed, where we're bedding up the young stock. Rather than having to use machinery to turn it, we put whole wheat in with a bed in, and then in the spring we put pigs in to turn it over. Both of our FYM stores are now covered and I wouldn't necessarily call them slurry anymore. It is a wetter FYM. That's the route I've taken, and I believe it's slightly better for the soil in the long term rather than liquid slurries, and of course that reduces the amount of spreading we need to go out onto the fields. Ah, right. That was 5. Yeah, I'll hand over.
Hi, Anthony Pearce. So a quick introduction. My soil journey started with the purchase of a Claydon drill in 2011, and it evolved from there. My interest in soil developed. I went out to America primarily to follow up on and understand better whether this was snake oil salesman or whether this was something genuine. And really, my journey for soil health started with David Montgomery's book, Growing a Revolution, which I can highly encourage anybody to read. So it went from and in the book, from a farmer's point of view, he takes you from a safe place of conventional farming to focusing on soil health. And then from there, I spent time with Elaine Ingham on her soil food web course, where I developed my passion for compost. And the picture on the right is our compost turner turning 4,000 tons of cow muck into compost last year. And finally, probably the hero of quite a few soil farmers, Gabe Brown. We travelled out and met him in America and tried to understand the basis of they refer a lot to enterprise stacking in America. Is this essential? Is incorporating animals into arable rotation, is that essential for developing soil health? And I came away with the conclusion that certainly it's part of it, but it might well speed up the process, but it's not essential. So from there, one of the things that they did talk about was peer pressure and developing your own support network. So as well as a WhatsApp group, I started a YouTube channel whereby I help other farmers who are on the journey to understand some of the mistakes I make and to help them avoid making the same mistakes. And the interesting thing that the conclusion that I've come to is that by teaching other people, you become much better informed about the reasoning and the science behind the soil techniques you're teaching and explaining to others. So thank you very much.
Perfect. Okay, so now there's definitely an opportunity for questions, but I suppose just to kick things off, and we'll work our way along, so we'll play past the microphone, and just an opportunity to hear from some of our finalists as well. I suppose, what's the sort of key learning for you as you've been on your sort of transition to your way of farming now? What's been one of the key learnings around managing your soils? Sorry, I'm springing this on you first, Jack. There you go.
Hello. I think you sort of got to, if you get into it and you sort of snowball and you want to do more. So once you get the bug, I think you, it just goes from there, sort of thing, really. So, yeah.
I'd say one of the key learnings for me has been we got into direct drilling and cover cropping really to try and improve the soil structure to make the farm easier to run and more resilient and more profitable. But what I wasn't really banking on or just hadn't thought about was the effect we'd have on the biology of the soil and the wider environment. That's been a bit of a wake-up call as to how significant that's been. And we've recently realised that actually we can leverage off that and use that to reduce inputs as well as reduce tillage. And I think really that's what makes me feel like we're really going places. So that's been an unexpected learning journey.
People talk about this getting off the hamster wheel of cultivation. I don't think you can do that with 1 foot still on the hamster wheel. You have to jump off, because if you keep 1 foot on, you're going to make a mistake. So we went into no-till 100% in year 1, which everyone thought we were completely mad about, but it worked, because when you do that, you have to make it work. And the guys in New Zealand that buy cross-lot drills, they sell everything, and because they need to afford a cross-lot drill. But that's how you make it work. You have to believe, and then you get the information, you read books, and you watch YouTube videos, and you go and visit people. And Nuffield was an incredibly important part of that for me. Being able to travel the world and visit other farms and see them doing it and learn from them was really important.
I guess I've picked up a lot of the books that many have read and are still reading. And you sort of, you start going down a route that, you keep finding more ways of learning, whether it's your social media or meeting up groups, more webinars in the last 12 months, of course. And you mentioned you do find people that are either thinking of doing the same sort of thing or have been doing it for a very long time. You just start sharing knowledge backwards and forth, and like it's been said, you do need to make 1 or 2 mistakes along the line, and that's very important. And it's more important how you learn from them and share that with other people, and just carry on learning. Don't get into a fixed mindset, which is sort of what's happened in the past a little bit too much. And there is no right or wrong, and just keep on learning.
Yeah, I think it's very much the same, an open mindset and a willingness to keep learning.
The journey for me probably started a few years ago. You've got to remain very interested. To link soil with the stock on the farm is important, and the balance is always difficult to achieve, but if you keep certain criteria in order, you'll develop a way and reasons to get through it, and remain ever vigilant on what you are doing.
Brilliant. So does anybody in the audience have any questions for any of our soil farmers this year? Perfect. Over there.
Hi, I'm Graham Willson. I work for the CPRE, the Countryside Charity, and I'm also on the Elm Engagement Group. I'm kind of wondering, since you've made such progress yourselves within the current system, do you feel that something laid on by DEFRA through Elm or similar schemes would really help you or help other people? Is this something you prefer to do on your own, in your own way that you just described, or would you like some sort of formal, structured system to help you do that, do you think? That makes sense as a question.
Depends how you develop your own system on your farm, I think. The trouble is with a lot of systems, it's quite rigid and you can't go out of the line. So in some situations it's very helpful, but in others it's very difficult. But if there is going to be funding for the future, it probably would help going towards something like this.
Yeah, I think really it's that prescriptive, and we were actually talking before coming on stage about how earlier environmental schemes were quite limiting in a mixed farming system, and the fact that you know we are all still learning, and if it's a prescriptive outcome that you're being measured against, it makes it very difficult for your systems to evolve and respond to what you're finding on the ground.
At the moment, I think the funding's mostly going to be aimed towards environmental and sort of habitat creation, which is good. But what we don't want is legislation or schemes that, like it's already been said, that's going to limit us, or if we try to do something, there's something that's going to be thrown in the way, a wall, and prevent us doing, what we want to do.
Probably bring a different take on it. It's interesting, this award's sponsored by Innovation for Agriculture. I'm not sure I've ever seen anything innovative come out of someone being paid for it. You normally get people who are innovative, who are forward thinkers out front. When I did my Nuffield Scholarship, I visited over 100 farms around the world, seeing people who did things because they believed it was the right thing to do, not because the government was giving them money to do it. I think that always follows behind, but the ones who are the pioneers are the ones who do it because they want to explore and they want to make changes and they want to do things that are out there. So if it comes, and we'll have some of it, but I'm not looking for it to be driven. I'm not particularly a fan of subsidies. I think farmers should do what they do. They should do it right, and they should do the best they can.
I think I'd echo that anything that's coming from DEFRA, if it fits in with what we're going to do anyway, then we'll take advantage of it. Some things like the grants for particular pieces of machinery have been useful, but you can get funding for cover cropping right now, but it is restrictive. You've got to grow. It's a bit more flexible on what you can grow, but there's still dates that you're allowed to go on there and start grazing it, for example. And if you want to be grazing livestock through the winter, it's not compatible. So I don't think it's going to be much use if it's going to limit what we need to do to make the system work. I think the system works on its own, and anything else is a bonus.
Yeah, I think the same as everybody else, really. I think some of the things that are on the mid-tier scheme already, like the AB15 and GS4, I think being paid to do those is sort of, you've got that safe area to experiment, and I think when you get on that and you're being paid to do that, then it's a bit of a cushion to go further. And once you get further, then you keep going, and you want to do it then, so you don't mind forking out yourself. So.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Question? Right, we'll go over here. Louise, did you have a question?
You've all made great progress, but what I'd like to know is, what's your next step? What's the next project?
Do you want to start us off, Jack? So if you don't want, we'll just move it back round that way. Or pass it along, as I say.
I think things on our wish list are making some intercropping work. We've had a go. We've got a few hectares to go this year, which is quite hard to manage, but I'd like to think we can make progress there. And then just pushing on really with making the rotation do the work for us, which can allow us to keep on reducing inputs and make strides in that direction.
Yeah, reducing inputs for me is a big one, particularly fungicides and artificial nitrogen. I think the two are linked as well. So seeing how far we can push that while still making sensible profits. So how far can we push that year on year? I'm reasonably ambitious, and I've got children that may or may not want to be interested. So keep pushing expansion of the business, more acreage, build some sheds, that kind of stuff, really.
Yeah, obviously talking and doing is two completely different things. I've always liked the idea of pigs and chickens fitting in with the cattle on the pasture. I've experimented both and still are, but not on a very small scale. We still concentrate on the dairy and the beef side. But something that I can bring into the farm a lot quicker is the idea of more trees, silver pasture. We've already started to guard a few oak trees that have established themselves naturally, and just sort of keep my mind open and perhaps bring one or two more people into the farm and see what ideas they can bring.
Yeah, I think enterprise stacking, I haven't got the time to deliver it myself, but joint ventures with others, collaboration. I think I used to have an expression that just because I've got a mixed farm doesn't mean I have to be a mixed farmer, and really developing that concept further.
I've had some great individual helped me over the years. I think we've only really just got going in what we're sort of trying to achieve. It's going to be interesting to couple this with environment, the public awareness of what is actually going on in the farming industry, and I'm certainly going to enjoy the next 20 years trying to get it right.
Brilliant, thank you. So if anybody's got questions to one of them specifically, also, anybody got any other questions? Not missing anybody's hands. Brilliant. I think in that case, that's probably a really nice question just to end. Did I miss anybody? No, good. That ended on. So I would just like to say thank you ever so much again to our sponsors in terms of Cotswold Seeds, who will be providing, and FarmEd, who will be providing the prizes for our top 3 farms, for Hutchinson's for being involved in sponsoring the competition. And just to highlight your attention to the farm walks that are going to be taking place. So Tom's Farm Walk is going to be taking place on the 7th of July in the evening at 6:30. Anthony's Walk is going to be taking place on the 12th of July, again starting at 6:30 in the evening, and we're just finalising the dates for Sam's Farm. So if you keep an eye on the FCT website, all of the information and how to book your place and come along to learn more about what's going on will all be available there. So please make sure you book your place, and so you can spend some more time hearing and digging deeper into these fantastic farm situations. So it just remains for me to say thank you ever so much to all of our finalists, to all of our partners, Innovation for Agriculture, Hutchinson's, Cotswold Seeds and Farm ED, for being involved in the competition. And as I say, thank you ever so much to our farmers.